Trump not done after ending Iran deal. He just erased the final piece of Obama's legacy, end of an error, by Kara Curry for rwnofficial.com. The end of an error. President Donald Trump's announcement at the White House on Tuesday that the United States is leaving the Iran deal marks the end of what his predecessor Barack Obama considered his main foreign policy legacy. According to the New York Times, the U.S. will reinstate sanctions against Iran that were waived as part of the deal, which was negotiated under former President Barack Obama's administration and signed in 2015. A source told the New York Times the Trump administration will also place additional economic penalties on Tehran. The president has railed against the Iran deal frequently. He has called it the worst deal ever and vowed during the 2016 campaign to either withdraw the U.S. from the agreement or renegotiate it. A second source told the New York Times negotiations over the deal crumbled after President Trump insisted Iran face sharp limits on its nuclear fuel production after 2030. The current accord lifts those limits. President Trump stated this was a horrible one-sided deal that should have never ever been made. It didn't bring calm, it didn't bring peace, and it never will. President Trump will amass credit from his base for keeping his promises in withdrawing the U.S. from the Iran deal. However, in truth, the Iran deal was undone by its own terms. The deal did not stop Iran from enriching uranium, nor did it stop Iran from eventually building a nuclear weapon. Neither did it stop Iran's continued global aggression. In fact, the Iran deal was not truly a deal at all. According to Breitbart, it was never signed by any of the parties: the US, Iran, France, the UK, Germany, China, and Russia. It was unclear about crucial subjects like ballistic missiles because the deal was described differently by the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, and by the UN Security Council resolutions that were meant to implement it. And crucially, it was never sent to the U.S. Senate for ratification. Obama's disregard for the treaty's clause of the U.S. Constitution was appeased with his general disregard for the constitutional constraints on the power of the federal government and the presidency. His refusal to submit the agreement to Senate scrutiny and his party's abuse of the filibuster to prevent even a weak Senate vote deepened the damage that Obamacare, his other struggling legacy in domestic policy, did to American civic culture. What President Trump actually did for America was put an end to Obama's legacy of appeasement. No more red lines, no more talking. America talks and America backs up what she says with actions. Barack Obama came to power convinced that America was at best a negative force in world affairs with this idea that we must lead from behind. At worst, Obama believed America was the cause of the world's problems, believing we could only be a force for good if we renounced its traditional allies, abandoned its principles of freedom, and gave up its national interests in favor of rising regional powers elsewhere. In his first term in office, Obama backed away from agreements that his predecessor had made to provide missile defense in Europe. He also reached out to the Muslim world, beginning with obsequious speeches in Cairo and in Ankara, and deep genuflection to the Saudi king. When the Green Revolution took to the streets of Iran, Obama allowed the regime to consolidate power. He criticized Israel openly while cozying up to the Cuban dictatorship. Then here comes President Donald Trump with his America First policies and has reversed most of that. He withdrew America from the Paris Climate Accords, exposing it for the fraud and the drain on the American resources that it was. Later this week, he will move the U.S. Embassy to Israel, in Israel to Jerusalem. President Trump states the United States no longer issues empty threats. When I make a promise, I keep them. Thus ended Obama's experiment with appeasement and autocracy. Meanwhile, Obama is furious at seeing his legacy crumble to dust, calling President Trump's actions misguided. In a long statement, the former president explained that today's announcement is so misguided. And he goes on to discuss what he thinks, which I could care less. I already have that up with his Obama. It's on my video. Obama responds to the Trump leaving the nuclear deal. But, you know, this is very well on the facts over here of how Obama led, that we should become, like, we should be always in the back seat, and Obama bowing down to these authorities in other countries. I mean, he was trying to take America down to the ground. That's basically the bottom line what Obama did, and we finally have somebody. That's why Trump got into office. Hillary would have just taken us to war. You know, that was the plan, to depopulate the world. That's all she wanted. But Obama actually wanted us to bow down to these, you know which countries I'm speaking of. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.